welcome to 55 minutes of insightful business and economic conversations. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning live from Channels HQ right here in Lagos. Thanks for sharing your morning with us. Let's kick off with some business news. Now, we see the Central Bank of Nigeria has introduced a new online platform for the submission of microfinance bank license applications in the country. In a statement signed by the CBN Director of Corporate Communications, Issa Abdulmumin, the new online platform known as the CBN Licensing Approval and Other Requests Portal, that's a LARP, will be replaced with the current manual progress. As the manual process, he adds that by digitizing the application process, the bank aims to improve accessibility, reduce paperwork, and expedite license approvals, benefiting both applicants and the economy. And Nigeria's volume of cryptocurrency transactions grew 9% year on year to $56.7 billion between July 2022 and June 2023. And that's according to a New York-based blockchain research firm, Chainalysis. The report indicates that cryptocurrency usage is growing in Nigeria in comparison to other countries now in Africa. We see in Uganda, crypto use is smaller, but growing faster, rising 245% to $1.6 billion in the same period, while its use in Kenya fell more than half to $8.4 billion. Chainalysis noted that interest in Bitcoin and stable coins and crypto tokens whose monetary value is pegged to a stable asset to protect from wild volatility increased when the naira's value plunged, particularly during the most extreme drops in June and July of 2023. And to the global oil market, now we see oil prices fell in early Asian trade today after posting the largest fall in a month in the previous session, as U.S. interest rate hike expectations offset the impact of drawdowns in the U.S. crude stockpiles. Brent futures for November delivery, that was down 71 cents to $92.82 a barrel. U.S. WTI crude, that fell 70 cents to $88, losing that $90 mark as the lowest since September 14th. The U.S. Federal Reserve maintained interest rates after its Federal Open Market Committee meeting, but stiffened its hawkish stance with a rate increase projected by year-end, which could dampen economic growth and overall fuel demand. And International Air Transport Association, IATA, says hiring professionals to run the airports is one of the ways to reduce operations costs. IATA's Regional Vice President for Africa and Middle East, Camille Al-Awadi, made this known in an interview with Channels Television, believes the high cost of operations is impacting on Nigeria's GDP. Take a listen.
If you have the two most expensive airports in one country, right, and you have a population of over 200 million people, all right, so that cost of airport then automatically gets moved over to the passengers. Because the airports are so expensive, there's less people, less Nigerians traveling, right? Yeah. And therefore, you get to a peak where it becomes too expensive to travel. And so your revenue from the airport start dropping below the revenue you would have got if the prices of the airports were reasonable. I think they should get a team of professional people, and IATA does this service where we can evaluate what the appropriate taxes and charges should be for the airport. We can advise them, on what is good. You have to also remember that there are local carriers that have to operate solely from these airports. Okay, so Nigerian carriers are paying for almost every other flight these high charges. The other airlines, the international airlines, the ones outside Nigeria, only pay that charge for Nigeria, so they can recoup some of the losses on the price of tickets to other destinations. But for the Nigerian carriers, they have to pay these very high prices almost every landing and every takeoff from Nigeria. So it's wise to rethink the charges that are being applied in those two airports, which is Abuja and Lagos.
Welcome back. Well, right now, import substitution is a major discourse, and moving a country from import dependency to export promotion does look like a tall order. The cargo business can play a pivotal role in boosting Nigeria's economy through exports, and as Nigeria possesses abundant natural resources and a diverse range of products that can have the potential to thrive in the global market. Let's dive into the export value chain in Nigeria. Joining me for this conversation, two amazing ladies. I have Kikilomo Folaogunia and Ujama, or Ama Akpata, both are co-founders of Cargo Plug, joining me right here in the studio. Great to have you both. First time I'm having two ladies on the show at the same time. I guess it's girl power today. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Good morning. Great to have you guys. So let's dive into it, right? Now, I'm sure you've seen the news. Recently there's a lot of pressure, on the naira, and obviously it's because of one major issue is huge appetites for imported products. You guys have been in this business now for about over a decade,
yes,
I believe. So tell me, has it improved, since you started this business 10 years ago? Are we seeing more flows out of the country, or are we still seeing more coming from abroad into Nigeria? I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you, Ladi. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Right.
So yeah, we're definitely seeing more things go out. So when we started the business in 2013, this is like 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago, we saw a lot more coming in. Even for us personally, we had a higher appetite for things coming into the country. Our customers were seeking ways to bring things in. But of course, as things change, as you said, as the devaluation of the naira is, on the increase, we've seen more people wanting to export rather than import. So even for us, as a business, we've taken a business decision to push the exports part of the business more than the imports. So over the years, we've kind of seen more, the trajectory is going more in favor of exports.
More in favor of exports.
Of course.
Quite interesting. Ama, in favor of exports, right? So what kind of products are we seeing, going out of Nigeria this time? Anything out of the usual?
We've seen more, so on the tangible asset side, we've seen more agricultural produce. So from the likes of cocoa, fertilizers, cashew nuts. And I think also because the diaspora community is growing, there are a lot of food items going out. On the other hand, we've also seen a lot of fashion items going out. Nigeria is now a spotlight for fashion. A lot of celebrities are wearing our fashion retailers' clothes. So we've seen an increase in fashion retail. On the intangible assets, we have seen music and the creative industry being exported. I mean, Afrobeat is everywhere at the moment. Even in the movie industry, we've seen how Netflix and Prime Video have had an interest in Africa. So our creative industry has also been exported, as well as our talents. A lot of developers are being poached from here. A lot of, apart from developers, medical practitioners. So on both sides, the produce and also the talent here in Nigeria.
And talking about unusual, I did see on social media one time a lady exporting cooked soups.
Stew.
Oh, yes.
Stew,
yes.
and I saw it's really frozen.
Yes.
How exactly does that work?
For us, well, as a business, people
And
do
for
it.
you,
But for
actually
us,
sending that out.
no, as a business, we don't actually handle the frozen items,
Right.
those kinds of perishable goods, because that we know how to manage our customers' expectations, and we know that things can go wrong, especially with frozen food. And there's health implications and all that. So there's certain things we just don't touch. We wouldn't do perishables such as frozen soup. But yeah, kudos to those that are able to handle it.
Right, and judging by what you see going out, more at this time, where would you say producers in Nigeria should focus on? What do you think is in high demand, from abroad right now for, Nigerian goods?
I think food items is in high demand.
Definitely.
From food items, just because the community is growing, people want to feel comfortable where they are with food items. Clothing as well is another area. So food items on a large scale, I find a lot of businesses are sending out raw materials for spices as well to Asia, to Europe. Places like Pakistan, India are exporting our raw materials as well. So that's an area of focus.
Finished goods?
Finished goods.
So manufacturers,
Yes.
How's that looking? Are we getting more finished goods out? Because, we've been known for sending out raw, non-processed. How's that looking now? Are we seeing more processed?
I think that will grow over time. More like consumer goods for now. I think the finished goods will grow as soon as we can get our quality up to the international standards. But I see that over the next 3-4 years taking more.
All right, Kike, what would you say is the biggest challenge now for exporters?
I'll piggyback off one of the last things Amma said about regulations. So the quality control. Are your goods able to match up to international standards?
Right.
Secondly, do exporters have knowledge about how to export things? Are they partnered with the right kind of shipper? Are they able to surmount the bureaucratic issues, bottlenecks, the corruption, understanding where exactly, do they have off-takers? Do they know exactly where they're sending these things to? How do they package the goods? How are they able to produce in, serene conditions? Also, pricing. Are they able to set the right pricing at cost level? What's their power situation like? What are they spending on? There's rising costs in production. Are they able to pass that across to their customers? Those kinds of economics they have to go through those kind of economics to know exactly if they're selling at the right kind of price. Also, when these people are exporting the goods at customs level, do they have someone that can actually help them broker the right kind of deals to make sure that the goods can go out smoothly? Those kinds of challenges are what the exporters are going through. And people not being a clog in the wheel of moving those goods out. So what we do is we ease cross-border flow. Whatever it is that the exporters need to get those goods on shelves overseas, that's what Cargo Pro can do.
All right, Amma, definitely, I talked earlier about the pressure on the naira, right now. And, ever since we unified rates, what are you seeing, with the trend for imports? Are people still importing with the, for you to get $1 right now, I saw the BDCs yesterday actually complaining that they don't have dollars.
They don't.
How's that looking?
It's funny, but Nigerians are big importers. They are still importing. We thought that the buying power had decreased, but I don't really see that.
Right.
A lot of businesses need, and the thing is, it's not that they want to. A lot of times, it's just that the tools that they need to function are not available here. So there's still a little bit more importation happening in the country, and it will take time. I think the fact that the exchange rates have gone up have now given people a reason to push, try and strengthen the naira a lot more, but it's still the same.
Because
it's still the same.
A weakening exchange, a weakening currency should be good for a country that's export dependent.
Yes.
But we are import dependent at this point. What do you think we should be doing at this point, Kike, to boost production? We're talking about produce. We want to export. What should we do right now? What would you tell producers and exporters and the government?
Yeah, so basically the government just needs to, of course, we always say the government should help us.
Right.
We need the cost of living needs to go down. The economics needs to just play out, because right now things are too high. So whatever it is that Nigerians are using to produce, they have to just mark up and make sure that their cost price is obviously, they have profit on top of the cost price. But then one of the things that we're excited about is the AFTA, which we're anticipating coming into effect, the Africa free trade, the continental free trade area.
Right.
So when that comes into play, we would have a lot more opportunity to export to a larger audience within our continent, and that would help us boost economics within the continent. So for Africa or for Nigeria as a whole, being able to take advantage of the AFTA arrangement or agreement would obviously boost exports, even for us to develop ourselves. It doesn't have to go out of the continent for you to make money. So within the continent, there'll be more coming in, more going out, free tariffs, little or no tariffs, more exposure to many more people to buy from, to sell to rather. So yeah, we're just excited about things like that, our regulations. So basically it has to be collaboration between the government, collaboration with the stakeholders, and then the cargo companies. We all need to come together to make sure there's free movement of goods.
Right. And talking about free movement of goods, that depends on fuel. And we've seen what happened with fuel prices, after, subsidy, gone. we saw that big jump for the price of petrol at the pump. So I'm looking at your logistics business, within. How have you been able to manage that?
Well, I think we're still managing it.
Right.
Struggling.
It's a bit of a struggle because that has had a direct impact on our rates as well. We've had to pass those costs on to customers, but also in making sure that we're still competitive. So the impact of that it's also impacted our staff. The cost of living has gone up for everyone, but not every business can afford to increase salaries. So we've had to offer them hybrid models, work today, come in today, work from home, offer them transportation allowances. So it has affected the business significantly. But as business owners, in Nigeria, we are very resilient. We have to just keep pushing and come up with more diverse ways of making customers comfortable and also doing business.
And talking about making customers feel comfortable, how's demand been for your service? Knowing that you'd have to pass on that cost, is demand still high for businesses trying to get their goods around town here?
The demand is, we've seen a decline in the demand, and I think that's everywhere. If you go to the NACO shed, you see that the numbers have dropped there. So the demand has reduced, but I think what most businesses have to do is just re-strategize and figure out a way to balance the high costs of petrol and the delivery costs to make sure that the customers or the businesses that are around can still sell and move goods around while you're still making a bit of revenue. So you might have to take a pay cut in terms of the business.
Because I remember one time I had to get a cake delivered and it almost costs the same amount of the cake. And I was like, you know what, I'll go pick it up myself. All right, Kike, most industries are talking about interventions, right now. Everybody needs help, some kind of help.
Help us. We need help.
Talk to me about your industry. What kind of intervention do you guys need at this time?
Okay, so investment. That's one of the first things. Investing in infrastructure. If you want to deliver a package from here to a remote area in Ondo State, for example, which is my state, you're taking into account delays from poor road networks. So investment in infrastructure, investment in technology. These exporters or people moving goods generally have a better experience, a better customer experience if they're able to track from point A to point B. And it just eases, it's just about making life easier for people as they're moving goods. So if we're able to track goods, invest in tracking, and then regulators just helping us on the road. Even on our way here, you're seeing people harassing riders on the road. These things cause delays.
Yeah, when it comes to permits.
Exactly.
I see that a lot with Lagos and Ogun State.
Yes, and a lot of the time you're finding out on the day that you're supposed to have this, and it's like, but where? And then on that spot, the rider is delayed, his goods are seized, he is arrested, the bike is arrested, and that obviously
and the goods.
With the goods, yes, with the goods. So that affects your ability to deliver on your promises to your customers. So these challenges, I don't know how we can ease it. All we're trying to do is make life easy for people and keep commerce going and keep the economy growing. We're just trying to deliver and fulfill orders. So anything the government can do in terms of allowing us just do our work. You have regulations. Yes, we will meet up to those regulations, but there should be some kind of dialogue between us and them, where you're trying to help us help businesses, not stop us from helping businesses. So if there's a new paperwork, find a better way of passing across the information. And then having these guys on the road, some of them are not even in uniform. You don't know who exactly you're speaking to. And on the day, the rider you're kind of accosting the rider. So of course he responds and then it turns into something else. Meanwhile, all you're just trying to do is deliver a package and earn an honest living.
All you're trying to do is deliver just a package.
Yes.
All right, Amma, let me have your closing thoughts now.
I was going to add that in terms of intervention, I think also intervention from the likes of banks as well. I know that there were a lot of intervention funds during the COVID period. So I think because at the moment, investment into the country and into businesses has gone down because of the exchange rate volatility. So if banks are able to support not only the manufacturers, exporters as well in offering them credit lines that actually make sense at reasonable rates and offer logistics companies that are also trying to export and expand better rates and credit lines, I think that would make a huge impact in the economy.
All right, thank you guys so much. I guess the dispatch riders need a lot of love right now with all those permits and drivers. Thank you so much, Kikelamo Fologuni and Ujama Ama Apata. Thank you guys, both co-founders of Cargo Plug, formerly Jantugiri.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Great to have you guys. All right, now after break, commodities market update is next. Find out what's pressuring the naira. That's next. This is Business Morning. Foreign exchange pressure continued yesterday as the naira depreciated against the dollar across market segments, but at the investors and exporters forex window, that's Nigeria's official FX market. We see the naira closed about 71 kobo to trade at 770 naira 71 kobo. That's according to FMDQ data yesterday. Let's talk to Dumebi Oluwole right now, and we'll get a sense of what's going on. Definitely, so a lot of pressure on the naira at this point. So much pressure on the naira. But let's get a sense of why there's so much pressure at this time. Joining me now is Dumebi Oluwole, senior analyst, financial derivatives company. Dumebi, great to have you.
Great being here again.
Yeah, so so much happened yesterday. Some, said it did hit that 1,000 level. I hope it didn't, but I'm sure maybe something must have happened, to drive that conversation, yesterday. But, looking at where we are right now, it did trade about 980.
Yes.
That's huge, and definitely, so much pressure. But this is at a time where oil prices did get to about $95, even though it's coming down now.
Yeah.
But shouldn't we be seeing some kind of, buffer or revenue increase at this point? Or is it not the same oil we're selling in the global market?
I mean, it is. That last question was pretty funny.
I know.
But then it is. It's the same oil. But before we even go into whether the government's going to make money from it, well, let's actually double down on what caused the naira to depreciate and to depreciate at the black market. And what actually happened, there are two primary reasons for this. So lingering FX supply shortages and speculative buying. So the thing is, let's start with the supply shortages. The fact that dollar supply to the official window is still pretty thin and slim. That's one of the reasons why we're seeing a surge of demand at the parallel market. Now, following the FX reforms, the expectation is that everyone who needs forex should be able to get it at the official rate.
Right.
But because supply is not sufficient at that window, we've seen over time reports of even commercial banks that should be able to access FX and then provide to individuals and businesses, but probably for BTAs or PTAs, they're not able to get the full amount get all their forex needs even from the official market, at least at the time that they would need it for. So that delay in sourcing forex and supply shortages is feeding into market behaviors. So the expectation is that, okay, I'm not going to be able to get FX at the time when I need it, so I'll hoard it. So there's that speculative behavior happening, and that is one of the things that is fueling the fueling pressure on the naira. So, but that's from the demand side. I was actually focusing more on the supply side. So now we've seen how that forex supply is slim to the official window and pushing demand back to the forex, back to the black market.
At the black markets, I did read yesterday the BDC operators were complaining that they do not have dollars.
It's like I mentioned, there's still that thin supply. So now that you've mentioned that we're now going to go to the fundamentals behind sourcing or getting these dollars into the country that we will now end up trading. So if you look at forex market like what it is, a market for trading currencies, then you understand why this is happening with Nigeria's currency. If there is not enough dollars to buy, if there's not enough dollars for individuals to get, then you continually see the FX, you continually see the naira plunge and move with market sentiment. And considering the FX reforms that have already taken place, the expectation is that we're supposed to get enough forex at the time we're supposed to get it, but that's not happening. And market participants are beginning to price in Nigeria's forex market distortions into the market, and that's one of the reasons reasons why we're also seeing the naira plunge. But looking at the sources of FX and why this is currently happening in Nigeria, Nigeria has about 5 main sources of forex inflows: oil revenues, non-oil revenues, remittance inflows, FPI inflows, and FDI inflows. But unfortunately, all of these 5 sources of forex coming to the country, we've seen significant declines from all of them in the past few years, and it's getting even worse. So if we look at crude oil, we know that yes, crude oil prices are higher now. Nigeria should be able to rake in some good money, but unfortunately, our oil production has still not hit our estimated benchmark. But oil production benchmark in the 2023 budget about 1.69 million barrels per day.
But I thought we're winning the fight against oil theft at some point.
I mean, yes, that is happening, but what we're seeing is just a gradual uptick in oil production. That's what we're seeing. But like we all know, when preparing the budget, even for any company, now to talk of a nation, we know how much oil that we need to get to a certain level to get a certain amount of revenue that would eventually benefit the entire nation. The government has to make the government at 1.6 million barrels per day. Definitely, the government will be able to make enough money to break even for certain capital expenditures that would now have a ripple effect or multiplier effect on the economy. But we're not seeing that simply because we're not earning enough revenue from oil, and we're not earning enough from oil because we're not producing enough. Nigeria is more sensitive to changes in our oil production than oil prices. Earlier, I think a few months ago, we saw that there was a huge crash in Nigeria's oil production simply because the Forcados terminal was not, exporting or even producing enough. And one of the reasons for this was, vandalism, theft, and just a complete shutdown of that pipeline. But now that that pipeline has, resumed production, we definitely would see an uptick in Nigeria's production. But like I mentioned before, the uptick is gradual, and so we're not raking in as much revenue. But on the flip side, with oil prices higher, trading at $90 or $95 per barrel, even though it's a bit lower now, what we'd see is with the fact that we're now getting FX at the revenue would be converted at the new official rate about 700. As of yesterday, was at 768. So what this means is that the federal government revenue from oil in naira terms will increase, and that's why we're seeing an increase in FAC disbursements. And that increase in FAC disbursement will continue because the FX rate that the government is now using to convert the oil revenues that we're getting in naira terms is higher, not because the dollar revenues have actually increased significantly.
Right.
So that's on one part, and that's addressing the part you mentioned about revenue. Then we look at investments coming into the country. Over time, since 2020, from 2020 up until today, Nigeria's capital inflows have been predominantly from portfolio investors, not FDIs. And for portfolio investment is just hot money,
right.
Money quick to come in, quick to go out. And even at that, these portfolio investors still, they've still raised concerns about taking their money out of Nigeria. So what we see is an influx of money into the NGX, which we saw when the reforms actually took place, and then an investment in stocks that are easily convertible from other stock exchanges.
Just looks like the NGX is the only party having all the fun.
Exactly. So what we see is an inflow of portfolio investment or portfolio funds into stocks like Airtel.
Right.
And that's because even if you're not able to get your money out of Nigeria, you could get your money through the London Stock Exchange. So, but that still goes to show how much even portfolio investors are still pricing in the risk of getting their money out of Nigeria as a factor with for their investment inflows into the country.
Because as an investor, you definitely have to look at the risk reward.
Exactly,
exactly. If the risk is outweighing the reward, then
there's almost no point. And then when you look at what's happening globally, how that interest rates are still high, even though the U.S. Fed did pause on its rate hikes, the ECB the Bank of England could actually do same because inflation slowed a bit in the UK. But the truth of the matter is interest rates are way higher than what they used to be, and advanced economies are looking more favorable for investors to put their money into than fragile emerging market economies like Nigeria. So there's that risk as well. And then when you look at the negative rate of return on Nigeria's investment, treasury bill rates and inflation rates, you see that it's still pretty negative. Inflation of 25%, a treasury bill interest rate of 364-day is going about 12%. Right. So there's that. So all of these things are fueling into investor sentiment and significantly reducing it. Then you look at all the other things that are affecting businesses in Nigeria today. Right. The naira is one of the major issues. The fact that companies bring in dollars and are not able to get their dollars out as quickly as they would need is affecting their ability to make long-term business decisions, long-term business investments and business commitments in Nigeria. Then if you even look at if you also look at the other incentives that should be able to bring in these kinds of investment that we need to actually set up shop in Nigeria or boost Nigeria's foreign dollar inflows, you see that these investments are really not working out for these businesses. Let's look at our special economic zones. They're not yet functioning as they should. And a typical example will be the Ogun Guangdong SEZ. The agreement is the Chinese contractors will build the infrastructure within the zone, and then the state government will build the infrastructure leading up to the zone. Right. But if you go there today, the roads are still pretty bad. So what is the incentive for a business to come in there? Then you also consider that this company
so much to unpack.
There's a lot of things to unpack, especially when you look at the forex issues. Right. It's just a whole lot, but these are a lot of things that are still fueling into the sentiment for the naira, because really the market is now almost won. It's almost won. It's been collapsed. Yes, we still have a black market, but market participants are now free to price in their sentiments to the naira. Right. And if they're pricing all of these risks, we'll definitely keep seeing these large swings in the naira.
We definitely have a lot to do, maybe, and I'm definitely waiting for a time where the naira will be in high demand. I can't wait for that to happen. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to that.
Dumebi Oluwole, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Tinubu in company with the president of U.S. Africa Business Center at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, ringing the NASDAQ closing bell in New York at the end of the day's trading. I believe former President Goodluck Jonathan was the first Nigerian president to ring the bell on Wall Street, and there we have our very own President Bola Tinubu there ringing. Quite interesting, iconic moment right here. Let's bring in Anyete Edet here. So Anyete, quite interesting.
Good morning, Ladi.
Good morning. Seeing our president ringing that bell, and it's quite interesting. It happened on the NASDAQ. I think President Goodluck did it on the New York Stock Exchange, but now we're having President Tinubu on NASDAQ, and we know the NASDAQ is known for tech. So is that saying that Nigeria is going to be looking, focusing on tech at this time? How are you seeing it?
Well, first, Ladi, you said something about it being remarkable. But what's most remarkable is that 10 years ago, almost the same time, on the 23rd of September 2013, was when Nigeria's former president, Goodluck Jonathan, was the first Nigerian president to ring the closing bell. That was on the New York Stock Exchange. So, and of course, the NASDAQ is one of the very, very important market for the U.S. market. When you talk about the tech heavies there, the likes of Microsoft, the likes of Google, the likes of Amazon, Facebook, and you name it. So, and of course, we're trying to drive this fintech solution, or the listing of fintech companies. I don't think we have much fintech companies besides maybe just quite a handful. Right. And of course, Nigeria's market is still very small when you compare to
many of the startups coming up in the fintech industry right now in Nigeria.
Exactly. And Nigeria is also a very big market. Don't forget that we have lots of foreign companies listed on Nigeria Stock Exchange. So now, okay, so I'll be giving you that details for today. So for our market, we close in the green. But before that, let's take a listen to what the president said at the closing bell on the NASDAQ stock exchange on Wall Street.
I am happy to bring Nigeria to your doorsteps and honored that we are here today with a bubbling market that we evolve West Africa's sub-region. The greatest economy is Nigeria. There's an immense opportunity in Nigeria that you can invest your money without fear. We've removed a lot of bottlenecks. We've cleared the oil subsidy that is corrupt, and we have also retooled the exchange rate to a reliable, dependable, one-figure floating of the exchange naira. You are free to take in your money and bring out your money. I count on you to invest in Nigeria. Be confident.
Just closing bell, Crystal. We're so honored to have you here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, that was our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the NASDAQ Stock Exchange making comments for shortly after ringing the closing bell at that market, which signifies the end of trading for the day while in the United States. So now talking about the market, which he was still trying to attract foreign investors into the market. Now let's take a look at the board at the close of mid trading session. The market reverted back into the red territory, the negative territory, just down by about 3 basis points or 0.03%, what you can see there. But it's still very comfortable in the 68,000 points, which it got back at the close of Tuesday's trading session. Equity capitalization, just about 12.86 billion naira, pullback approximately 13 billion naira. And then year to date, where you see the 51,595.66 level, we're still in the best performing stock market around the world, 33.21%. Now, to give us broader perspective on the Nigerian stock market, particularly with this epoch ringing of the bell by the president, let's talk to Tajuddin Olayinka, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Wyoming Capital and Partners, to give us more details about that. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Olayinka.
Yeah, good morning, Anita. It's my pleasure.
Okay, now, I have 2 questions for you, to be precise. The first question I would like to ask, this the stock exchange, part of this roadshow, which the president rang the closing bell at the NASDAQ. What is the significance of this, and how is this going to attract foreign investors into Nigeria's stock market?
Okay, thank you, Anita. If you look at it from what the president did, not just at the NASDAQ, but even at the United Nations General Assembly, the State Assembly, he made statements referring to international politics at the NASDAQ. Now back at the NASDAQ, he was able to make statements that touch significantly on international business, international financial market. So for that, it's so significant because it was able to showcase to the whole world that Nigeria is a ready market any day, that Nigeria has great opportunities for foreign investors who might wish to come into the country, invest either as direct foreign investors or invest as a portfolio investor. So it's so significant because it came at a time the president had the opportunity to showcase the relevance of Nigeria in the international polity, and of course to show relevance of Nigeria in the international business. So it's quite significant, and of course don't forget NASDAQ is a very big stock market in the world, and the whole media around the world will also be showcasing what happened there. So for me, I think it was significant, more so that we had market operators by the side of the president. The Minister of Finance was there, the chairman of the NGS was there, quite a number of market operators, the senior market operators were also there. So it's significant, and I think from that presentation, so the president spoke about fuel subsidy removal. He spoke about what you call it, the exchange rate unification, things that will simplify investment in Nigeria and that will definitely attract flow of investment to Nigeria. So it's quite significant, and I think it was a plus for Nigeria and it was a plus for the president himself.
Okay. So, Mr. Alenka, that takes me to my final question with you. Latest reports have it that about 205 billion will be wiped out from the market due to the proposed listing by GlaxoSmithKline, BZ Cussons, Owando, Coronation Insurance, as well as Capital Hotels. Recently, Owando's delisting is scheduled to hold on October the 10th. What impact is this going to have on the market, and how do you see this playing in the long term?
Okay, I think let me first and foremost let me just say that the NGA, the stock exchange itself, is actually working on reducing the impact of exit from the market by some of these public companies. And let me also add that why should a company want to delist when the market is bullish? If a company is saying that it wants to delist because when market is bullish, then it sent the wrong signal. It sent the wrong signal in the sense that when market is bullish, that is the time for public companies to access the market to be able to raise money at a lower cost of capital. And so, for companies to say that even though this is an opportunity for me to raise money from the market at a lower cost of capital, I still want to delist. Then it points in the direction of some unfriendly government policies, regulations around the market that are not so retentive to listing on the exchange. So I think, and one of those things is this idea of federal government taking away money from investors by way of unclaimed dividend. When government does through legal niceties, take money away from investors by way of using or converting unclaimed dividends to government use. Using that money to fund budget. That was very wrong in the first instance. Don't forget that this unclaimed dividend was already addressed by Companies Appellate Matters Act 2020, which made it possible for public companies in Nigeria to access this money after 12 years to boost their capital, to boost their operating capital, and of course to give opportunity to those companies to be able to increase their earning prospects. So, but when you now take away this money from these companies just because you want to fund federal government budget illegally, I think it speaks volume. That is actually one of the reasons some of these companies are leaving. You cannot be regulating unclaimed dividend that doesn't belong to you. So I think government should revisit that position, which was done by Ajia Zainab Ahmed when she was Minister of Finance. To revoke that thing from what they call Finance Act 2021, which actually took that money to government. So that was wrong in the context. There are several other regulations that are not friendly to market. And I think because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing things in the direction of simplifying investment in Nigeria, these are things that they should immediately revoke and make sure that Nigeria companies can compete globally.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Alenka. That's quite a contrast when you look at the delistings, and at the same time we try to attract investors into the market. But thank you for that analysis. And of course, our eyes are always on the market. So that was Tajuddin Olenka, the Chief Executive Officer, Wyoming Capital and Partners, giving us details about the Nigerian stock market, and as well as other many issues.
So much to unpack there, and at the end of the day, we need to make the environment friendly for investors that want to be able to come in and go out as they please. Thank you so much, and it's always good having a perspective with the markets now. And moving to other markets, we see Bitcoin there made a couple of attempts to gain strength for a move above 27,500 resistance zone, but Bitcoin failed to continue, and we see the color on the market right now is most is mixed, basically. We see Bitcoin there, the only massive green, other cryptos there quite red at this point. So it's like half Bitcoin taking the big shine there, then red is where the market. So it gives us a sense of what's happening in the market. Let's look at the sentiment right now. Looking at the fear greed index, 47, nearing that 50-point level of 100. So we're neutral. So investors are not afraid or greedy at this point. They're somewhere marked in the middle at this point. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track. Bitcoin, they're holding on at $27,000, Ethereum $1,600, and BNB $213 there, the token for the Binance Exchange. The native token there, XRP still holding that 51 cents level above 50 cents, and Cardano 24 cents. Let's bring in Gilbert Jopatana, financial market analyst. Hello, Gilbert. Great to have you. Good morning. Hello, Gilbert. Hello, Gilbert. You might have to unmute.
Oh yes. Good morning, Mr.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's get you now, Gilbert. So yeah, we're talking about the naira earlier in the show, and I did see yesterday on the P2P exchange there on Binance. I saw that Bitcoin and USDT was about 980 there. Now we make reference to the P2P exchange right now. What's driving sentiment in that P2P exchange, and is that good for us, at this point, seeing, what's happening with parallel markets, the official window, and now the P2P window? How are you seeing it?
I really think this is a negative update for the image of the naira. But a lot of things is really happening. I really see that the naira is heavily under pressure, and it's coming from two things. First of all, recently, I still think putting the Nigerian Stock Exchange in the unclassified list also have a little things to do with what's happening and also driving sentiments. But the major pressure the naira is having is the free floating of the naira. And this actually means that traders or people in the marketplace can actually price in their sentiments in the market. So a lot of pressure is mounted on the naira, but beyond this, traders are heavily betting against the naira. If you really look at what investor sentiment or trader sentiment, or those who are in the marketplace, they have been betting against the naira and also looking forward to the naira hitting 1,000 against the dollar long before now. So much of this is actually sentiments from financial market players that is really reflecting with what's happening with the naira trading at 1,000 naira against the dollar.
Yeah, on the P2P market, that's a market we don't like to talk about pretty much. But Gilbert, I still believe in the naira, and I believe that you do not bet against the naira. The naira will get strength at some point. But let's drill down now on the U.S. See the U.S. Fed. It was a hold, but it's been referred to as a hawkish hold. How's that impacting crypto in the short term and long term?
All right. Before this, I really believe that we just don't have to bet against the naira. I really believe that the naira will bounce back. The fact that it's a free-floating market means that we have a responsibility as citizens and also those who are in the marketplace to find ways to defend the market since it's free-floating. But beyond this, I know that traders will always look at where they could take advantage of volatility to make profit for themselves. But yesterday's interest rate decision to keep the interest rates unchanged actually comes with a kind of mixed sentiment, which is reflecting as well in the price of crypto in the marketplace. Before now, it's investors who stay on the sideline and try to watch what the Feds want to do. But this time around, it's the Feds that is on the sidelines and paying attention to inflation to know the appropriate rates they are going to use. But why keeping this rate unchanged is supposed to be positive on the on the short term to the price of crypto asset. There is actually a bigger picture. The Feds have reiterated again, we are going to keep increasing interest rates until we could have the inflation at about 2%. They have also let us know that even though this is going to be unchanged, we will likely see another rate hike before the year ends, and also some more moderate rates from next year. But then with what is happening, traders just had to understand that even though this is rate is being unchanged, there is also some a possibility of us having a slow bleed in the future.
Right.
That's why sentiments with certain persons still had to put the market on a sell.
All right, I guess so much volatility right now in the currency market. We're definitely watching out for what plays out next. Thank you so much, Gilbert Jopata, financial market analyst. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, now let's look at the top gainers now. We see IMX topping counter this morning, 70 cents, 30%, double-digit gain. I've seen some altcoins actually looking good. ASTR, 5 cents, 10.36%, and Elron, again on the gainers counter, 4.75%. And we see Aave, that's $63.99. It's been on a bullish run now, 4.15%. Look at the top losers counter. We'll see who's topping the losers counter now. We'll see most of the cryptocurrencies, but not single digits, mostly single digit losses. That's what we have on top losers counter. But that's the show today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, you can join us at 1:30 on Business Incorporated. And we can get more updates and developments in the world of business. And definitely you can watch this again on our YouTube channel. Just flip over to YouTube, search for Channels Television, and you can check all our videos there and watch all our production. Watch this. Again, thanks so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Have a profitable day.